2023 is now officially in the rearview mirror, and I think for us gamers, it was a very good year. Ultimately, a lot of people will view 2023 as one of the greatest years ever for gaming, and I think for a good reason because there were just so many good games that released last year. 2024, though, is no slouch either. There are so many more games coming out in 2024, and it actually surprised me a little bit. When I decided to make this video, the top 30 best games coming in 2024, I originally intended this to be like 15 games. But when I actually sat down and looked at all the games that has a release window for 2024, it just kind of kept growing. There's genuinely a lot of very interesting games coming this year. There's a lot to be excited about, and even more so, I think all platforms has something to look forward to in 2024. So you know what? Let's just go and jump right into it. I'll try to go through this fast because, we have a lot to get through here. Go ahead and kick back and relax, maybe get a snack and drink, and let's dive right in. Number 30, Towerborn. This is a colorful action RPG developed by the creators of Banner Saga and published by Xbox Game Studios. It does have a focus on 4-player cooperative gameplay with a loot-based system. They say Towerborn is designed with player choice in mind, where players have the option to customize their looks, gear, and weapons. This is one of Xbox's first-party highlights for 2024, and knowing the reputation of Stoic Studios, this could be a fun time when it releases for Xbox and PC. Number 29, Metaphor ReFantazio. This is the next game coming from the creators of Persona 3, 4, and 5, and that alone will bring a lot of excitement to fans of JRPGs. Atlus is developing it as a third RPG pillar for the company, though outside of its art style, it will play quite a bit different than the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei series. Metaphor ReFantazio instead will be another turn-based RPG, but with action elements outside of its combat. It also takes place in a medieval Europe fantasy setting, and it'll even have a voice protagonist, which is something we don't usually see in other Atlus RPGs. 28, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. The phenomenon known as the Switch effect was in full force earlier this generation when Luigi's Mansion 3 released for the Nintendo Switch. It's gone on to sell more than 10 million copies worldwide, and with so many more fans of the series now, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD makes a lot of sense for a remake. This was previously a 3DS exclusive title that some people may have missed out on, and a very good one at that. And now it's fully being remade for the Nintendo Switch. Now we can see all of its spooky charm with new HD visuals. 27, Ark 2. It's been a long time coming and it's received a few delays, but Ark 2, the next survival primitive game where you survive and tame dinosaurs, is set to release sometime in 2024. And the sequel, however, don't just expect another online multiplayer game. It's also set to come with its own story mode starring Vin Diesel, and while we've yet to see how this will exactly work, this will bring a whole new reason to dive back into its alien world once again. This one will be releasing as an Xbox console exclusive, including a day one Xbox Game Pass release. 26, The Wolf Among Us 2. It's been more than 10 years and one studio closure later, but The Wolf Among Us 2 is almost finally a reality. This was once a dead dream, but longtime fans will be thrilled to play the next interactive detective thriller in the series. The Wolf Among Us 2 will take place just 6 months after the original, so do make sure to refresh your memory before the sequel launches later this year in 2024, but hopefully this one will live up to fans' expectations. 25, Princess Peach Showtime. Capitalizing on the Mario movie, Princess Peach will have her first brand new game as the main protagonist since 2005 in Super Princess Peach for the Game Boy Advance. In Princess Peach Showdown, however, each stage will completely change its gameplay by giving Peach different powers. In one level, she might be a sword fighter, in another, she might be a kung fu master, or maybe even a detective. It looks to be a fun time that'll constantly keep you on your toes with fresh new ideas. This will be one of the first Nintendo Switch exclusives to release in 2024, as it's planned to release on March 22nd. 24, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. When you hear about some of the greatest JRPGs ever made, Suikoden 2 often gets brought up among that list, and that's one of the reasons that so many people are excited for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This is a spiritual successor coming from the creator of the Suikoden series himself, along with various other veterans that's worked on the series. It'll also utilize that increasingly popular and beautiful HD 2D art style. This game looks absolutely gorgeous in motion. In Eiyuden Chronicle, though, you'll have 100 plus playable characters in classic JRPG turn-based combat in a war-torn world that only you can save. Fans of classic JRPGs are absolutely going to want to keep this one on their wish list. 23. Tekken 8. Tekken will be back with a brand new entry for the first time since 2015, and right now this looks to be the most anticipated fighting game of the year. This is a series, after all, that's ultimately cemented itself as one of the most recognizable 3D fighting games ever made, and Tekken 8, it looks to take a big leap in terms of visuals. Tekken 8 will be pushing the limit of next-generation hardware with 32 redesigned characters and its new game mechanic dubbed Heat System, which gives characters access to special movements and enhances their abilities based on each character's unique features. 22. Rise of the Ronin. You can always count on Team Ninja to make a fun game, whether that be Ninja Gaiden, Nioh, or the recently released Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, and hopefully Rise of the Ronin will be no different. Rise of the Ronin is an action RPG set in the Edo period of Japan where you play as a custom-made character that can use various weapons in combat. The traversal system also seems to be a highlight with a wide array of options at your disposal. You can ride a horse, you can use a grappling hook, and there's even a glider. This game actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the Assassin's Creed games, but only time will tell when it releases exclusively for the PS5 on March 22nd. 21. Little Nightmares 3. Bandai Namco now considers the Little Nightmare series to be a staple franchise for them going forward, so when the previous Little Nightmare studio was acquired by somebody else, they needed to find a new home for the unique 2D platforming horror series. That home is now Supermassive Games, which is most known for Until Dawn. It'll be interesting to see if they can live up to the same high quality that Tarsier previously set for the series, but so far it does look quite promising. Its atmosphere is once again super spooky as you adventure through its nightmarish world alone with an AI character or together cooperatively with a friend. 20. Flintlock Siege of Dawn. This is A44's next game, the studio behind Ashen. It's actually a game that I really enjoyed. I loved its world and combat. I also really liked its art style. And Flintlock, it seems to be taking things to the next level. This is their first ever AAA open world game. It is an action RPG set in an open world that seemingly combines magic and guns. You'll play as an elite member of the Coalition Army, accompanied by a mysterious fox-like creature as they travel its treacherous world and face the army of the dead. This one will be releasing sometime in 2024, including a day one Xbox Game Pass release. Number 19, Replaced. Replaced is a game that immediately caught a lot of attention for its striking 2.5D pixelated art style. This is an absolutely gorgeous cyberpunk-esque game. I mean, if it plays anything like it looks, this one could be a real treat when it does release. Replaced, though, is a retro-futuristic action platformer set in an alternative 1980s America. You play as an AI trapped in a human body, which is actually a really interesting plot, and it'll combine action platforming with free-flowing action combat. 18. Another Crab's Treasure. Now, we've gotten a lot of Souls-like games over the years, but we've never gotten one quite like this. This is being described as a crab-like adventure. It'll have your typical Souls-like combat, but in a much more colorful undersea world where trash quickly becomes another crab's treasure. As a crab, you'll swap shells by using various different items that you discover. You might use a banana peel as armor, or possibly even a soda can. If anything else, it's a charming take for the Souls-like genre, and you'll learn a variety of new powerful abilities throughout your adventure to keep the gameplay fresh. 17. Persona 3 Reload. Ever since the release of Persona 5, a lot more people have been scouring to play some of the older entries, which are equally as good, if not even better. And in 2024, new and old fans alike will have that perfect opportunity. Persona 3 Reload is a remake of the classic turn-based RPG using Unreal Engine 4. It looks quite similar to Persona 5's art style and brings that same stylized flair to it. Now, if you've never played one of these games, though, it combines monster catching, turn-based combat, and social sim elements into an amazing blend for one of the best JRPG series of all time. Persona 3 Reload will release on February 2nd, and because I've played the original, I can safely say that this is a must-play for JRPG fans in 2024. 16. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Speaking of bringing games back, one of the most beloved games of all time is set to return for the Nintendo Switch, being Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Now, fans have been begging Nintendo to make a new classic-style Paper Mario game, and while they've yet to do that for whatever reason, we will at the very least get a chance to play one of the originals in all its glory. These games just ooze charm and personality, and who knows, if this game has success, maybe it will finally convince Nintendo to go back to the classic formula for future titles. 15. The Plucky Squire. One of the most original and creative ideas for 2024 could ultimately prove to be one of the biggest surprises for the year as well. In The Plucky Squire, you play as Jot, a storybook character who will jump between 2D and 3D worlds where you'll battle, solve puzzles, complete various mini-games, and plenty more. It looks to be a charming and magical adventure filled with several surprises along the way, and I feel like that this game could actually sneak up on a lot of people. If it's executed well, I think that this could end up being a darling hit for 2024. 14. Stalker 2. When Stalker first released back in 2007, it quickly became known as one of the most atmospheric games of its time, and it grew quite a following with its various releases over the next few years. However, and unfortunate as this might be, we haven't seen a new entry in over a decade. And now that Stalker 2 is finally almost here, fans are craving to see the zone with its next-generation visuals using Unreal Engine 5. This is a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter that takes place in an alternative Chernobyl where various anomalies and mutants sprawl the land. It's a dangerous place, and survival won't be easy, but you'll ultimately decide the fate of the zone in its non-linear story. It will be heading to PC and Xbox, including Game Pass, later this year. 13. Stellar Blade. Inspired by God of War, Nier Automata, and Bayonetta, it's got a lot to live up to, but Stellar Blade legitimately looks to be one of the most promising games coming out in 2024. So promising, in fact, that Sony ended up picking up the publishing right themselves, which actually makes this the first Korean-published PlayStation-developed game. So Sony, at the very least, seems to have a lot of confidence in this title, and I think it's easy to see why. It's a fast-paced action-adventure where you'll need to quickly parry incoming attacks while also dishing out combos using various skills using your burst gauge meter. Its combat looks fast and fun, but there's more to this game as well. It also promises a lot of exploration and a story about an alien threat. It will release exclusively for PlayStation sometime in 2024. Number 12, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. RGG and the Yakuza series has been on fire here in recent years, and Infinite Wealth might be the peak of that growth. This will be the 8th main installment in the series, and it's promising to be the biggest addition yet. It will once again have turn-based combat, and they claim that it'll take more than 70 hours to complete its main story. Now, these games always offer a great story, if anything else, but I am expecting this one to be an emotional roller coaster this time. Even beyond that, though, in typical Yakuza fashion, there will be plenty of side objectives as well, which interestingly this time even includes an Animal Crossing-like island that you can grow yourself. Now that might come off as strange, but it actually does look pretty good. Infinite Wealth will release on January 26. Number 11, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now, I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about this game when they first revealed it, but the more I've seen, the more impressed I've become. Its time manipulation powers looks unique and fun, and it potentially could make for one of the better Metroidvania games to date, developed by the former Rayman Legends team. Now, personally, I think Rayman Legends is one of the best 2D platformers ever made, and you can see that expertise bleed into Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown's gameplay. So with that, I am pretty optimistic about this game right now, and luckily, we're not going to have to wait too long to play this one, as it does release on January 16th, and it'll even be 60 frames per second for every platform, including the Nintendo Switch. Number 10, Avowed. One thing that you can always be sure of is that Obsidian Entertainment can make great RPGs, and, well, their next big game, Avowed, will be out in 2024. This is their first major RPG under the Xbox umbrella, and it takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe. Unlike its predecessors, though, this will be set in first-person view with inspiration from games like Skyrim, though its combat will mix a variety of dual-skill weapons, including magic, swords, and even guns. It'll be up to players to mix and match their favorite combat style, but knowing Obsidian's reputation, this could be among the best RPGs to release in 2024. Number 9, Star Wars Outlaws. Now, there's been no shortage of Star Wars games here recently, but Outlaws might be one of the most ambitious yet. This one is being developed by Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment, and it promises to bring the Star Wars universe to life in a grand open world like we've never seen before. Its early gameplay does look quite promising. You play as an outlaw named Kay Vess, and she'll adventure to several planets, including some that longtime fans will recognize. The gameplay, though, consists of third-person combat that uses guns and stealth, vehicular combat, and even space combat. Like I said, this is a very ambitious Star Wars title, and it appears to be the whole package. It is expected to release in late 2024. Number 8, Wukong Black Myth. This game has impressed fans for years with its smooth animations, stunning next-generation visuals using Unreal Engine 5, and its impressive combat. It is inspired by the Souls-like genre and offers a wide array of creative enemies and boss fights, though this is actually one of the first big Chinese AAA-developed games to release for core platforms. Interestingly, though, its story will focus on the classic novel Journey to the West, which is actually one of the most popular stories in Chinese history. It'll be fascinating to see how they bring that story to life in this ambitious game when it finally releases on August 20th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Number 7, Hollow Knight Silksong. Speaking of games that might finally come out, we have to talk about Hollow Knight Silksong. The first game is highly regarded as one of the best Metroidvania games ever made that mixes in a dark but fascinating world with Souls-like elements. Since its release, it has inspired countless games behind it. In many ways, you can even track the resurgence of the genre back to Hollow Knight. So to say that there is some excitement for its sequel is possibly a little bit of an understatement here, but it is currently planned for 2024. Let's just hope that it doesn't receive yet another delay. Number 6, Metal Gear Solid Delta and Silent Hill 2. Konami's return to console and PC gaming is back with a couple major remakes set to release in 2024. Both of these games have helped define their own respected genre. Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is the remake from Metal Gear Solid 3, has helped define what makes a true stealth espionage game as you trek through a hostile jungle filled with wildlife and enemies hunting you down. It also offers one of the most memorable stories in all of gaming with great characters. So if you missed out on the original, don't let that happen again. And don't worry, Metal Gear Solid 3 is technically a prequel, so you can easily jump right in without playing the other entries. Now, as for Silent Hill 2, it's been an inspiration for the horror genre ever since it released way back on the PlayStation 2. Its atmosphere is just so incredibly strong with spooky vibes as you explore a monster-filled town in search for your wife. We've really not seen many horror games reach the same height as the original Silent Hill 2, and this is a series long overdue. It's been a while since we've gotten a new release, so what better way to revive the series than by remaking arguably the best in the franchise? And here we are in the top 5 with Dragon's Dogma 2. Over the years, more and more people have started to recognize the potential of the original Dragon's Dogma. It very well might be one of the most overlooked RPGs in recent memory, but now Dragon's Dogma 2 has a chance to change the future. This could potentially be a massive release, maybe even possibly an early Game of the Year candidate because this game looks flat out amazing. This is a big open world RPG where you can customize your own character by choosing which combat style best suits your playstyle. You'll have various classes to choose from, and its combat is quite unique for an RPG like this. You fight huge, creative monsters and can even climb on them mid-combat, almost kind of like Shadow of the Colossus. Capcom, though, promises the sequel will impress with its new intelligent AI. All battles are apparently unscripted, but because the improved AI, the monsters will adapt to their surroundings and situations. It looks quite impressive early on, and we'll get the chance to play it ourselves when it releases on March 22nd. Number 4, Hades 2. The first Hades remains one of the most beloved roguelikes since its initial release with its addictive gameplay loop, its surprisingly very well-told story, and its never-endless replayability. Supergiant Games, though, isn't quite finished with the series yet, though, as their first ever sequel is now planned, being Hades 2. In the sequel, however, you'll play as the immortal princess of the underworld. It promises new combat styles that utilizes dark sorcery, and you'll explore an even bigger and even deeper mythic world as you take on Titan of Time using the full might of Olympus behind you. Its early access is expected to release in Q2 of 2024. Number 3, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Elden Ring absolutely took the gaming world by storm when it first released in early 2022. Its sprawling open world, its challenging combat, and endless amount of builds captivated players in ways games rarely do. To this day, I'd say that this is my favorite game of the generation, and it's also possibly in my top 10 games ever made. It is a very special game, and one that you really don't often see in modern gaming. Well, its much anticipated expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree, is expected to release sometime in 2024. While not too much is currently known about this new expansion, we can once again expect a new challenge with new boss encounters that further expands on its world, combat, and lore. I'm also positive that there will be countless new secrets to uncover in a new location, and furthermore, I expect the internet to break once again. I, as many others, cannot wait to hear more details about the new expansion. Number 2, Hellblade 2. From what we've seen, Hellblade 2 very well might be the best looking game this generation from a graphical standpoint. The first game already excelled at facial animations, part thanks to the actress Melina Jorgens. She does an excellent job, and the sequel appears to be taking things to a whole new level. This game flat out looks incredible and also personal. The combat is gritty, it's dark, and it is brutal. Hellblade 2, though, is not just a visual showcase, though. The first game was actually one of the best story-driven games last generation, and the sequel is expected to be another emotional ride as Senua returns in a brutal journey of survival through the myth and torment of Viking Iceland. This is a first-party Xbox game, so do expect to see it on Xbox consoles and PC sometime in 2024. And at the number 1 spot, I have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. One of the most beloved games of all time is the original Final Fantasy VII, and for a very good reason. Its story, its characters, and world are just all so amazingly crafted. And the thing about the remakes is that they're quite interesting in the aspect that Square Enix, they aren't just doing a simple remake one-to-one. Instead, they're greatly expanding on the original, and every single character is now getting some love. Just to kind of put things into perspective, the first Final Fantasy VII remake was 30+ hours long, which is already right around the same length as the original Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth, however, is expected to include 100 staggering hours of gameplay in a more open world. We'll also see more returning characters such as Cait Sith and Zack with a much expanded role. Honestly, I think this game looks incredible in both its action RPG gameplay and with its story. It also looks highly ambitious, and it very well could be a Game of the Year contender when it releases on February 29th exclusively for PlayStation 5. There you go, though. 30 games to look forward to in 2024. Now, technically, I actually showed 32, including the runner-up. But yeah, I think that this is going to be another fun year for gamers. Let me know, though, which game you're most looking forward to this year. And also, if I missed a game that's on your list, let me hear it in the comments below. But with that said, until next time, peace out.